Hello, and welcome to our online library workshop, which is entitled Streaming Options at the Library with Allison Reuter, Jennifer Towns, and LaMonica Sanford. And as faculty and instructors foresee streaming video needs in their courses for the summer, fall, and spring, please notify the Library Collections Department at the following email address or website address if you need more information. So just a quick note, please also visit our faculty library resources pages where you can find out information about our instruction classes, our research consultation and support, and our liaison program and other resources. So our learning objectives for today include that the learners will identify the various streaming options available through the libraries. The learners will understand why the library utilizes mediated access with Kanopy. And lastly, learners will summarize the use of streaming media as it relates to copyright. And before we go into specific streaming sources, we would like to show you how to view our various streaming and multimedia resources from the Galileo homepage. So first you will see that this is the main Galileo homepage. You would simply go to Databases Type and then select View All Types. That's circled in green. Then next you will see a list of the various types of resources that are available, and then you would go scroll all the way to the bottom where it says Multimedia. Select Multimedia, and you'll see that we've got about 22 resources. And then it will list our various resources. So the first one, obviously, that we'll talk about today is going to be Avon. The second one will also be Films on Demand. And then lastly, we will talk about Kanopy streaming.
All right, so for Kanopy, I know it's a really popular resource, and I like that y'all are using it, but you may have noticed that within the last several months, we've had to go to mediated access. And so now when you go to Kanopy, you'll see the little banner at the top that says streaming is currently limited at your library with the FAQ. And I understand that Kanopy, has, feature films and, more popular documentaries, things like that. And so it's a really great resource. But let's see, the reason we've had to go to, mediated access is because Kanopy, is not cheap. And the way their license model works is that you only typically license things for 1 year, and then you have to re-up your license, right? So, prior to this year, we've had unlimited access, and since Kanopy is becoming more visible and gaining more popular resources, we've just seen usage of it kind of skyrocket, and unfortunately, we don't have unlimited funds to go with unlimited access. So that's why we've had to switch to the mediated access model. And it is kind of annoying that you'll still see all the titles, in the catalog, and that you can't actually view a list of what we actually have licenses for already. Let's see. But if you go to that LibGuide that LaMonica mentioned a little earlier, there is a list posted on the library collections page of licenses we currently have, and I'm going to try and keep that updated every month. So it will change because things roll off, or new licenses, or we have purchased new licenses over time or whatever. So the list does change. But I just want to let you know that we're trying to sort of supplement how you can find out what we actually do have access to. If you do want a title that we don't have currently a license for, please fill out this form, okay? So when you click on the film or whatever, it'll take you to, I mean, it's pretty basic form, right? And right now we're sort of prioritizing faculty requests. So if you can tell me what course you're maybe going to use it for, if it's a series, maybe which specific episodes in the series you want, because to license a whole series is actually quite expensive. But we've kind of changed our workflow, so hopefully you'll find that we're a bit more responsive, with requests for films like this. So yeah, use the form. And I mean, if you have any questions about it, you're more than welcome to contact the Collection Resource Services Department. So, once we receive your request, right, you will probably be contacted by your library liaison to, sort of get more details about your requests, especially if it's a series. And they'll be the ones to notify you, once, we have access to stuff like that, or to whatever you requested. The turnaround time has been a lot better than it was. So, hopefully we can try and get it for you in a timely manner. So, we understand that, mediated access is kind of inconvenient and annoying, but it's really the only way that we can make sure that, we can provide you any access to Kanopy, right? Because otherwise, if we had it unlimited and we only have, say, $5,000 to spend, we would pretty much just have to shut down all access to Kanopy other than what we have licensed. So really, the mediated model is the best that we can do, and it's honestly the situation that most libraries are in as far as this particular resource is concerned. And we're happy to try and work with you to see if we can get those resources for you in some other way, and we'll talk about that in a bit. All right, so with that in mind, we do encourage you to explore our other streaming options that I'm about to tell you a little bit more about, because they do have really good videos and stuff, so you might be able to identify alternatives and stuff like that. So you might consider working with your liaison to sort of suss that out. Let's see. So the first one, is Films on Demand, and this is a really good resource for sort of educational and informational films. I think there are some like PBS videos and stuff like that, but a lot of it is maybe shorter titles. It's definitely not going to be like feature films, that sort of content that you would necessarily find on Kanopy or on the next resource I'm going to talk about. So they actually have a lot of stuff. So I mean, it's always at least worth seeing if maybe there's something you can use on that database. The other one is something new we have this year, which is Avon, or Academic Video Online, and they do have feature films, full-length documentaries, the kind of thing that you would see on Netflix or whatever. So there's always the potential that just because Kanopy has it, that Avon might also have it, or that they have different films that that you would maybe be interested in streaming for your class. So I highly encourage you to look at this database and maybe see if there are alternatives that you could get from them. And it can be kind of difficult to navigate, so feel free to ask your liaison, and they'll be happy to look at it for you. Let's see. So just as a reminder, we want to help you get all these resources and stream videos and stuff for your class, but the more notice you can give us, the better. So if you know that you're going to want XYZ films for spring or whatever, tell us now. That way we can try and get everything set up for your access, assuming that we can afford it and get it for you. Or if we can't, that way you can sort of make different arrangements or whatever. So I highly encourage you to use the materials request form and to look at this faculty library resources LibGuide, because it's got a lot of really valuable information. And I will stop sharing.
All right. We are going to move along to streaming video for classroom use, specifically for distance learning. Now I'm going to attempt to share my screen. There we go. So my name is Jennifer Towns, and I am the Scholarly Communication Librarian. And I've been fielding lots of requests this year, particularly for converting DVDs or how to access films and put them on Georgia View, how to have students who are at home during the pandemic, or if you're working from home, or if you're meeting online, how do students access films that you need for your classrooms? So for this purpose, I've developed a workflow here. It's kind of a decision tree for your use as faculty when you are trying to get a film into Georgia View or online for your students. The first thing that you should do is just what Allison LaMonica has spent some time talking to you about, and that is to look for library resources. Kanopy, Avon, Films on Demand, anything that the library might have digitally already. Since we have already licensed these things, they usually have an embed code that you can put into Georgia View, or that you can share with your students via Zoom or WebEx, or however it is that you are engaging with your students online. So first things first, check if we already have it, check if we can get it through Kanopy. If you are unable to find the video that you want to show through Kanopy, Avon, Films on Demand, or another library resource, you're going to move to step 2, and that is to look at commercial alternatives. A really great website is justwatch.com. It's just a website. It's for anyone to use. You pull it up, you type in the video that you would like, and it shows you where you can either buy it, stream it, or rent it online. So for example, it'll show you that, like Water for Chocolate is available on Netflix, it's available on Amazon, maybe it's available for free at Tubi or something like that. And it'll also give you the prices on which platform is it available and how much does it cost to buy or rent. Now, this can be really useful because if you're looking for something and it's not commercially available, then that's something that you can use to move on to step 3. But before we go there, just a little note about commercial alternatives. Many students already have subscriptions to one or more of these services, or they might have a friend or a family member or their roommate, etc., might have a subscription to one of these commercial services. For exclusive content, a commercial service might be the only option for students to access a film that you want to show online. Right now, physical access to DVDs, physical access to the library, and some of the library's physical resources can be a barrier at the moment. So we're trying our best to make sure that we have options for you to put things online and embed them in Georgia View. Often, commercial streaming options are the cheapest and easiest options for your students. If a student does not already subscribe to one of these services, you can ask them to subscribe to it for the duration of your course. Most services do not offer institutional licenses, so the library cannot subscribe to them and provide access to their films for your students. It's simply something that they don't offer, so we cannot take advantage of it. So if you have gone to Just Watch and you have found that the movie you want to show is unavailable to stream, to purchase online, or to rent online, that and it's not available in Avon, Films on Demand, Kanopy, etc., that's when you move on to step 3, and this is when the library will really get involved to help you try and find an alternative or a different option. If it's not available on a library resource or commercial streaming service, contact your library liaison, and we will look around to see if we can acquire streaming access from another provider. Now, as Allison mentioned, this option is very much budget dependent and it's also time sensitive. So we might be able to purchase streaming access for additional media, like through great courses or something like that. But it does take time to finalize a streaming license, and institutional streaming costs do often exceed our budget constraints. So please be aware of that. If all else fails, you've gone through step 1, 2, and 3, and you simply cannot get a copy of this particular film that you want to show online. You may be able to convert from a DVD, and this is where the legalese comes into play, and this is where I really have a lot of information to help you navigate these sorts of things. There are very specific cases in which you may use CSS circumvention software to excerpt small portions of DVDs. It is not lawful in many cases, not all, but in many cases, to rip an entire DVD and put it on George View. The vast majority of the time that your specific use falls under fair use or the Teach Act or something like that, you will only be able to use a small portion of the DVD. However, the library right now is unable to offer DVD ripping services for you at this time. We simply do not have the manpower right now and some of the software available to assist you with that. So that is not a service that we offer at this time. If that changes in the future, we will be the first to let you know. Now, if you own a DVD and you would like to, and you have concluded for yourself that you believe that ripping the DVD or excerpting portions of the DVD falls under fair use or falls under the Teach Act, and I can help you determine whether those fall under those particular exceptions in copyright law. You can, on your own, excerpt portions of those DVDs via CSS circumvention software, and I can point you in certain directions for that information that is legal, but I cannot do it for you, and neither can the library. All right, if you have any questions about particularly converting from DVDs or anything that has to do with copyright infringement, please contact myself or any of your library liaisons. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we will invite questions. So please, if you have a question, drop it in the chat or unmute yourself.
Hi, Jennifer and everybody. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Question about the difference between if I own a physical copy of a DVD, I've made the assumption, or I've made the analysis to find that it is a fair use of the selection of the film that I'm wanting to use in class. The difference between that and using the same excerpt via a streaming service where I have a digital copy of the same film. How do the legalities of that differ when it's the same excerpt? I've done the same fair use analysis, but it's a digital copy that I own versus a hard copy of the original DVD.
The digital copy is generally going to be subject to different licensing issues depending on the agreement. Like, for example, if you bought it on Amazon Prime Video and you downloaded it to your computer, so it has not existed in a physical DVD copy, it's simply a file on your computer. That file was licensed through a specific set of circumstances depending on their licensing agreement, and you are subject to those. I don't know what Amazon or Hulu or whatever their licensing agreements are, but you would have to look those up and make sure that you are not in violation of any of those. Does that make sense?
It certainly does, but it also seems like you need a law degree to be able to do that effectively. And so for those of us that, don't have that background, how would you recommend the average faculty member do that? Because I do
Mhm.
have the sense that the average faculty member probably just doesn't think about it and just uses it, right? So for those of us that are trying to be a little bit more proactive in making sure that we're doing things the right way, how can we actually go about that process?
I really appreciate your question, and you're right. U.S. copyright law, particularly when it has to do with digital media or creative media or anything like that, anything other than a PDF or a book or a physical copy of something, is convoluted at best. And most of the time, there is no one right answer. So, in your case, and in the case of other faculty who would like to post excerpts from either physical DVDs that they own, or or as you said, they have a digital file that they've downloaded or something like that, come and talk to me. I can help you navigate what is legal and what is not. One of the things I'm definitely going to have you do is complete the fair use checklist from the USG. And let me try and pull up that URL, fair use checklist, and I'll put this in the chat. That's going to be your first line of defense, essentially, to prove that you are acting in good faith. All right. And we can discuss the fair use checklists at some point in the future. And I'm always happy to go through this checklist with faculty or with anyone who is trying to determine whether or not they can use something. So your first step is looking at the fair use checklist. If you cannot make heads or tails of the fair use checklist, which is fair, come and talk to me. And I'm going to do my best. I am on your side, and I really want to try and find a way for you to do what you need to do. But I also need to help indemnify the university against any particular lawsuits. So we will do our best. But just know that U.S. copyright law is not friendly to sharing digital media. Does that answer your question?
Sorry, a little bit of fat finger syndrome there.
No, it's okay.
I think it's a start. I've certainly done, the fair use checklist before with print media. I think there's another one that's through a Texas institution that you all have recommended and provided links to that kind of works you through that process as well. And like I said, I've used that for print, but it sounds like my questions may be specific enough that it may be more useful to have a one-on-one conversation and not monopolize this session. So I'll reach out once I've got a chance to work through this for the digital media that we're talking about here.
Sure. And actually tomorrow I have a conversation scheduled with a copyright librarian who's kind of the preeminent copyright librarian for academic libraries. And I'm hoping to talk to her about just this issue. So hopefully by tomorrow afternoon, I'll have more information and have a clearer understanding of how to move forward. Thank you.
Are there any more questions? Okay, well, if there are no more questions, we will end our presentation. Please feel free to contact us if you have any additional questions. And this presentation has been recorded, so we will post this onto our website shortly. Thank you.
Thank y'all very much.